Welcome everyone to my first What If. What if Deku was reborn as the Scorpius Rex? Here we go. Okay, so we start off at the sludge villain incident. Izuku is walking under a bridge. He notices an open manhole, and before he can realize what's going on, he hears, "Kid, give me your body." He turns around to see the sludge villain hurling himself at him and almost engulfing him with the sludge. Izuku has his head poked out in order to breathe, and the sludge villain quickly realizes it, and he tries pushing the head into the sludge again. Izuku fights back while saying, "I cannot die. Help!" As the sludge villain says, "Quiet, kid. I never expected he was around here." Izuku's head gets pushed into the sludge once again, but making sure he doesn't poke the head out again. The sludge villain tightens the sludge itself, so it's harder to get out. Izuku is panicking as he realizes the world's going darker. His vision is becoming fizzy. He realizes something as he's blacking out. Am I dying? No, I can't die. My mom. As the last words he would hear were, "I am here," and then fades to black. We go to, the person who said, "I am here," All Might himself. He punches the villain, and the villain, sludge villain, splatters all over the walls, the floor, the ceiling even, and he quickly bottles the villain up. As All Might thinks Izuku is just unconscious, he does the thing in the anime where he's repeatedly slapping Izuku gently enough for the canon version to wake up. Like, "Kid, wake up. Sir?" And then he checks his pulse, as All Might realizes he didn't save this kid. He quickly puts the bottle down to the ground, but making sure the sludge villain doesn't get out, he quickly tightens up the lid to the point where it's nearly impossible to get out if you were the sludge villain. He picks up Izuku and goes back into his small might form, saying, "No, I must get this kid to the hospital as fast as I can." And All Might, using his super speed, in this universe, his quirk is allows him to become really fast. Not like flash fast, but fast enough to get to a hospital that is just 20 houses away. I know it's not much, but I don't know. As he brings the kid to the hospital, yelling, "Quick, this kid needs help." And the doctors realizing that this kid is not conscious, they say, "Quick, bring him to one of the hospital rooms, quick." As they do so, getting that classic little chair in most hospital scenes. And they read the name tag on Izuku's notebook, Izuku Midoriya. And then the doctor realizes, "Hey, this is the kid that I pronounced quirkless." The doctor calls up Inko, and Inko answers the phone while saying, Hello, this is the Midoriya residence. How may I help you? Hold on. And the doctor says, sorry, Inko, but there's no way how I can tell you this, but your son's dead. Izuku, no wait, not Izuku, sorry. Inko hears this and says, what? And then she quickly says, I'll be there to check. Holding back the tears, she gets into a car. Yes, she has a car in this What If. Does she have a car in the original? I don't know. But she quickly rushes to the hospital by vehicle, car, again. She quickly goes up to the desk saying, where's Izuku Midoriya? And the lady says, oh, you must be the mother. Quick, to the hospital room 158. Inko quickly rushes to the room as fast as she could. And in this What If, well, let's just say she's a lot faster than she looks. And, yeah. Sorry. Blacked out. Not really. Joking. I thought I heard something. Anyway, back to the story. She quickly rushes to the room to see a skeletal man with goldenish hair saying, quick, check on him. And then Inko rushes up to Izuku's lifeless body, and she can't hold back the tears anymore, and she starts crying. And she says, Izuku, why couldn't I protect you? And hours pass by, and they pronounce Izuku dead. Inko sits there by the room, sits on a chair next to the room as they were gonna take him out of the room. All Might, aka Toshinori, has left the building, basically, because he doesn't want to live with the guilt that he couldn't save someone. We go back to Inko once again to see her looking down, thinking, if only somebody had saved him in time. Why? And then she would hear someone say, excuse me, but are you Inko Midoriya? She looks up to see a man that looks like he's in his 30 to 40s, and he introduces himself as, my name is Dr. Henry Wu, and I think I have a way of bringing your son back, but I might need some of his hair. And Inko says, yes, I'm Inko, but how? How can you bring back Izuku? And if you can, please, I'll do anything. And Dr. Henry Wu says, well, you didn't hear me the first time. I says, I might need some of his hair, just a little strand, because my work is bringing back things from the dead. But no. Inko asks, what do you mean? As Dr. Henry Wu looks at her and says, you'll see. Dr. Henry Wu disguises himself as a doctor of the building and says, I might need this kid for a minute. The doctors in the room say, sure? And then Dr. Henry Wu, as he decides to nickname him as Carl, so he can disguise himself in the building. He takes a bit of his hair as he pushes the cart. Well, you know that little wheelie table that people go to the hospital if they're basically paralyzed? Anyway, he gets some bits of Izuku's hair. He puts him back into the room where the doctors are like, why did you need him for a minute? As Dr. Henry Wu says, oh, I thought I saw him open his eyes and blink. And I tried using the defibrillators, and I was wrong. I'm sorry. As the other doctor's like, oh, you must be new around here. It's okay. And then Dr. Henry Wu gets out of the disguise, but before that, he exits out of the room and gets out of the disguise. And he says, ma'am, I've got some of your boy's hair, but it's going to take a while for me to bring him back. Inko says, how long? Dr. Henry Wu replies with, about a good 12 months. Inko says, 12 months? That's a year! And this catching the attention from a nearby stander in the hospital wondering, what? But the person there quickly brushes it off. But this person has black hair and looks like he needs sleep. Yes, this is Aizawa. He'll come later in the what ifs. And 10 months pass by. Inko is still waiting to see her baby again. Yeah. No. Let's scratch all the time skip that part. She gives well, not really. She says thank you to Dr. Henry Wu for getting Izuku's hair. She quickly gets in her car and drives off. Now here comes the time skip. Let's say about 10 months later. Yeah. Inko is still waiting for Dr. Henry Wu, thinking maybe this will be quick. And then she gets a knock on the door, thinking it's Dr. Henry Wu with Izuku. She opens the door with excitement to see just a skeletal man saying, oh, sorry if you thought I was someone else. And she says, oh, no, it's okay. It's just, as the skeletal man replies with, you're lonely without your son? She replies with, yeah, as a little tear drops from her eye, as this man asks Inko to come in the house. And Inko replies with yes, because she's been quite lonely. And, yeah, the man introduces himself as Toshinori Yagi. As Inko says, I think I heard of you, but anyway, my name is Inko Midoriya. As All Might, forget the All Might part. As Toshinori says, that's a nice name. So, what do we do now? As Inko says, oh, I'll get some food. Okay, so these past months, Inko and Toshinori have basically been dating. So that's, yeah, you could probably see the ship in this. So we've passed 2 months as Inko and Toshinori have basically come close, but not too close, as friends, not friends, as roommates. Yeah, roommates. And Inko's waiting by the door. This catches Toshinori's eye, wondering, why is she staring at the door for? As Toshinori comes closer to Inko, walks over to Inko and says, "Why are you excited at the door for?" And she explains how a doctor she met said that she could bring Izuku back by his hair somehow. All Might finds this hard to believe, but he doesn't want to hurt Inko's feelings and says, "Okay, that seems strange, but okay." As 10 days will go by, and late at night, Inko will finally get a knock. She wakes up with a burst of energy, gets into her clothes, and rushes to the door. And she meets Dr. Henry Wu holding a little cat carrier, saying, "Okay, you must be Inko, right?" And she says, "Yeah." And Dr. Henry Wu says, "There has been a slight miscalculation with the rebirthing process," which is a lie. I'm not going to tell you his scheme, but he says, "Your son has unfortunately shrunken to the size of a cat, so I'm going to have to carry him in this cat carrier. And he's not comfortable with me holding him." As Inko will try to look in the cat carrier to see if Izuku's there, but she only sees a bit of green, which gives her slight hope. And she says thank you to the doctor, as the doctor will leave the residence with a smile that doesn't give Inko comfort. More of a, "I don't trust this person now," feeling. But Inko brushes it off and tries to set down the cat carrier. And Inko opens the cat carrier, and she waits for Izuku to come out. It's been 5 minutes now, and Izuku hasn't come out. She checks in there and asks, "Izuku, are you shy? What happened?" As she sees a terrified She sees a scared lizard at the corner, and she wonders, what the? She yells out, "Why is there a lizard in here?" This catching All Might's attention, not All Might, Toshinori's attention, and quickly rushing down the stairs to see her holding a little lizard that has longer back legs, a weird short face, and feathers on its head. As we cut to Izuku's perspective, Izuku wakes up in an egg. Well, not really, he doesn't know, but he wakes up in a sack. He wonders, where am I? What's going on? As he tries pushing out and he cracks it and thinking, am I in some sort of rock? As Izuku breaks this sack, as he thinks, he realizes he's covered in goop. And he looks back to see what he just came out of, and would you know it, it's an egg. he staggers back to realize, I just came out of an egg? And then, in the goop, he looks down on it to see his reflection, or, as he thinks, a monster is behind him. He's scared and backs up in fear. And then he falls off of this cliff, and he's grabbed by a huge hand and putting him down. As Izuku is thinking, what's going on? Who are you? As the man is all like, soon, Project E750 will be reborn. But now, it's gonna take a while. And, as, like, Izuku is scared of this man because he just gave him a look of like, like a really nasty look. Izuku gulps in fear and he checks the egg yolk puddle? I'm not sure, but anyway. He checks his reflection again and he realizes he's the monster that he thought he saw. And Izuku thinks, did I waken my quirk? Or what's going on? And then he's put into a cage, like with some food, water, bed or something. And then he's like, wait, what's going on? As the doctor says, don't worry. You'll beat your mother someday. And as we cut to the present time, Izuku is held by Inko as Izuku realizes it's his mom. He quickly kind of lunges at Inko, sorry, and basically tries to hug Inko. And Inko gets this feeling of whenever Izuku hugged Inko. And she starts tearing up as Toshinori comes to her and says, what's going on? As, well, he notices that the lizard or reptile is holding Inko. Well, not holding, but hugging, sorry. And he's honestly confused. Like, he's never seen a lizard hug a person before. And, well, yeah. Anyway, and Izuku, from his perspective, realizes that he has some form of bracelet on his arm. Inko notices and presses it for curiosity, and Izuku is given the ability to speak. Well, it's you know that movie Up, how the dogs could speak? Yeah, it's like that. And they hear Izuku's voice. And Inko simply says, Izuku? And that's where I have to end it off. Sorry, guys. Busy day tomorrow, but make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you want more. Hit the bell notification to see more, to be notified for my more videos. Anyway, peace!